All right. Welcome everyone to Dr. Walls and Friends. Good evening. Good evening. I am super excited to have this friend to the show this evening, Miss Dionne Wright-Chambers. How are you doing, Dionne?
I am well. I am well.
So now we were trying to schedule this. It is hard to pin her down and find some space available. And for those of you that know her, y'all already know. For those of you who are new to the show, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. As I tell all of my regular people, make sure you have your pen and your notebook, something to get some notes on. If you open a tab, anything, because you're going to hear something today, be it for yourself or for someone that you know. I also ask that you hit that subscribe button. It does not cost you anything but maybe about a second of your time. There is no fee in order for you to click that subscribe button. So I ask you to do so. Hey, Leslie, happy hump day. Happy hump day to you too, girl. Thank you for joining us as always. And if people who you are joining, you can put in that chat room how you're doing and where you are joining us from. So let's go on and jump into this. Dionne, I had the pleasure of meeting you, goodness, a couple months ago. I was at a book bag giveaway right before school, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was at a book bag giveaway, and I was vending my Froggy Tea and Bunny books. And one of the people who you work with heard me talking about the books and then came over to get you. Hey, Dr. Blake came over to get you and said, "You got to come meet this lady." And we've been together ever since.
Like every day,
Like
right?
every, exactly.
We don't meet a we just
Look,
don't miss a beat.
not at all. So please tell the people a little bit about who you are and what you do. And I just say a little because it's going to unfold as the night goes.
My name is Dionne Wright-Chambers. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. I consider myself an abolitionist educator, which means I'm just fighting for equity
Mhm.
and inclusion for all, and I believe in supporting a living economy, not only in the workplace, but also where you live. So I have a strong philosophy on what you do at work, you do at home as well.
Mhm. Now, how did you get into, first of all, let's just discuss what in the world is an education abolitionist and where did
Oh,
that title come from?
it's nothing new. As you know, there's nothing new nowadays, as much as people like to say it is.
Mhm.
But I mean, abolition education basically means you're fighting for inequities in education. And we know when it comes to Black and Brown people that that's just something that's been happening since the dawn of time, right?
Mhm.
To
Mhm.
simplify it that way. I mean, when it comes to educating ourselves and our children, we understand that it's critical to be committed to this, I guess you want to say, nexus of
Mhm.
racial transformation in all
Mhm.
learning spaces. So hopefully that
Mhm.
like covers everything.
Mhm. Mhm. Now, how did you get involved with education like this?
I just think from being a female and being a woman of color, I mean, how
Mhm.
can we not? And seeing inequities that I experienced in my own education. I always say that song from Lauryn Hill, the Miseducation of Lauryn
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
I mean, that is just like my martyr because
Mhm.
ever since I want to say elementary school and on up to, higher ed, it's been a plight. I
Mhm.
grew up in that area when they wanted to more so dismantle having all white schools and let's have the
Mhm.
little, brown and black children come into the suburbs
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
integrate. But
Mhm.
then there was this disassociation because the curriculum that we were giving in our neighborhood schools were not the same curriculum that we're giving
Mhm.
in, I want to say, rural or suburban or elite
Mhm.
schools. So
Mhm.
that was a frustration in itself. I was
Mhm.
supposed to be gifted, but when I went to Baldwin. When I got there, I literally they was on tier system like the Olympics.
Yep.
The
Yep.
colors of the Olympics, and
Yep.
why would you put a little brown girl from the hood in the type tier? at
Mhm.
Baldwin. I had to
Mhm.
wind up getting knocked down 2 tiers.
Mm.
So you can imagine what that did to my
Mhm.
ego as
Mhm.
a young child in a
Yes.
whole new different learning
Yeah.
environment
Yeah.
where I basically was the only one that looked like me,
Yes.
or sound like me.
Mhm.
And then I think it just continued, throughout, even in
Mhm.
high school, even in higher ed, seeing the inequities and trying to find my place. So
Yes.
I feel like it was inertly in me, and I'm sure many of us feel the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has been experiencing that.
Yeah. All right. So that's what got you into education. You were able to see yourself in it and you wanted to make sure that there was improvement for others. And now let's fast forward and we're going to talk on some other pieces and how it impacts the work that you do. But then somehow you ended up starting your own business. Where did that come from?
I guess it just came from a dream of mine and my business partner, Dr. Blake.
Hmm.
Two little brown girls, that's our motto.
Hmm.
Try to move our way up and get that seat at the table, and sometimes have to bring the seat, your chair, and everything
Yes.
with us. So
Yes.
honestly, you know how it is. We do it all as women, especially women of color. We
Hmm.
get in a room and we start talking, about shoulda, coulda, woulda. And
Hmm.
it's just the fact of making sure that you're putting action to the words
Yes.
to make it more purposeful,
Yes.
and meaningful. It's okay to vent, but vent without actions
Mhm.
is just air, right?
Mm.
And we don't want
Mm.
air, and we want
Yes.
to be breathing life, right?
Yes.
It's not that we always say like the circle. I have a new thing now, and I'm sure you heard it before. I rather use the continuum and not the circle, because the circle
Mhm.
just going around and around, but a
Mhm.
continuum you're spreading all out.
Yes.
So I feel like that just came out of that passion there.
Mhm. She said Leslie said that was a full sigh and that said so much. Yeah, look, Les, I heard it too. She said, oh, yes. So, as you're talking about this, this continuum and recognizing what individuals need, somehow you ended up working in that really early childhood education space.
Mm.
Why that space? Why not middle school? Why not high school? Where did that passion and purpose come from?
It actually came because I was a middle school teacher with the district. I was an emotional and behavioral support teacher for middle school, merging middle school, fifth, sixth, seventh grade boys
Mhm.
who all had one-on-ones. We had a de-escalating classroom.
Mhm.
Either there was trauma, they were in a judicial system, or mental health things were going on. And it wasn't the boys. I love my boys.
Mhm.
I love the families. It was just the powers to be.
Mhm.
We all know how the Philadelphia school district is. I'm sorry, I'm not afraid to say it. It's
Mhm.
frustrating. We have a lot of passionate educators out
Yeah.
there, but you get wrapped up in red tape.
Mhm.
And I was like, for my sanity, so I don't get arrested and
Mhm.
do jail time, I had to pivot. Let's be
Mhm.
honest.
Mhm.
I worked too hard for my degrees to lose
Yes.
them.
Yes. Real
So
talk.
there has to be another way to reach, children in our community. What
Yeah.
better way to get them when they're younger?
Mhm.
So I decided to start at the beginning, right? Why are we starting
Okay.
in at the middle? We need
Yes.
to make sure that they're getting access to high quality early childhood education. And we're
Mhm.
not underdogs in early childhood education. We get no respect, no love.
Mm. Mm.
We get looked at as glorified babysitters when we're none other but that and so
Yeah.
much more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think about when I first started teaching, I started out in early childhood education. My first class was 6 weeks to 2 years old. And people would always say, what can you do with a 6 week old? What can you do with a 9 month old? And starting to explain to them the different milestones and
Mm-hmm.
ensuring that they meet those milestones and the socialization and teaching them how to play and interact and share and how to modulate themselves with self-control and so forth, and all of these different things, right? Working on those who were tantruming, let alone potty training. And there's, you think about all the things that a child learns in those first 2 years of life, those first 3 years of life, and then even learning how to separate from parents, right? And caregivers, and being able to emotionally regulate oneself. And, it's really playing peekaboo to a whole nother level
Mm-hmm.
because, right, the child needs to learn to trust other individuals and trust that their parent will come back. And so, what's going through your mind as you hear me talk about this first class that I had?
No, I just, you know, our first jobs, before we even can teach the academia side of education to children, is that we have to tap into that social emotional
Yep.
aspect, right?
Yep.
Because our main goal in early childhood education is to make sure that they can interact with society and make them productive members of our society,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
all the education in the world is good and dandy and all the degrees is, whatever. But if you can't regulate and self-regulate yourself and understand others, then
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be no use to yourself or our society, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that's the main core of why early childhood education is so important. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how often, you teach in all sectors, right? Higher
Mm-hmm.
ed, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How are we always visiting and revisiting this whole social emotional wellness?
Yes.
It's like it got missed, and even when you do get it, you got to revisit it,
Yes.
right?
All the
So,
time. All the time, and build it. And I remember even one year I was running 10 emotional support groups, and my youngest was kindergarten and my oldest was 12th grade. And people would ask me, how in the world can you go from one to the other? I said, it's the same concepts. We just have to learn how to use them. And we have different life events that evoke the thoughts and feelings that we have to learn how to modulate and manage. But it's a
it's that
skill.
continuum all over
There
again,
you
right?
go. There you go. Hello from Regina R. Hello, hello. All right. So now you took interest in it, but you didn't just stop with an interest. You took professional development to a whole nother level when it comes to early childhood. Why and what makes you so unique? So tell the people about your business, the name of it, and what it focuses on, and then the why behind it.
So the name of my business is Learn Empower Grow Consultant Group. I have an amazing business partner, Dr. Blake. I have an amazing, amazing team. We wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for our team believing in us. We focus on professional development, early childhood education, just like teachers that are teaching primary and higher ed. You want to make sure that their teachers are gaining knowledge and resources that they need to provide high quality education for our young children, right? Early childhood education begins mainly, yes, at that infant, but it also continues basically on up to the 8th grade until that child, is, going to transition into high school. And I
Mhm.
don't think everybody look at that long lens and how important it is.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that we need to make sure that we're providing the best professional development, for the ECE workforce that gets
Mhm.
no respect at all,
Why do you
right?
why do you say that? And for those who are listening, you're saying ECE, early childhood educators.
Yes.
So why do you say they get no respect?
As I said before, we get looked at as glorified babysitters.
Mhm.
And then you have to think about when the pandemic came around, right? Everybody knows about COVID, right?
Mhm.
Um, who were the essential workers? Okay, the hospitals were still open, right?
Mhm.
Fire departments, police stations. Guess what? The
They
school
care.
district and primary school was closed, but childcare
Mhm.
centers were open
Mhm.
because those doctors and nurses and police officers and firemen could not go to work if they didn't have
Yes.
anywhere for their child to go and know they were safe and secure.
Mhm.
But I don't really never seen a platform for early childhood educators, right?
Yep.
Even during the pandemic, when we were, trying to figure out how were we going to keep ourselves healthy and our families healthy
Mhm.
and everybody else children at the same
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
So there was a little bit, here and
Yeah.
there, but
Yeah.
not like it should have been for the fact that I really feel like the ECE workforce, early childhood educators, put their lives on the line during COVID to make sure that services still went on, even though they were struggling to keep their business open.
Yeah.
And a majority of the business owners, not only just in Philadelphia, when child care centers, they're Black and brown women of color, you know. So, you know, that's why we're definitely pushing the needle forward to make sure we have a more visible, you know, our presence, you know, to really put validation on what we're doing, you know, and how we are really moving the future generation forward, and we're preparing them, you know, for the future. So that's why.
Yeah,
you know.
I feel like when you just said that, there's people listening like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. Right? When you think about, to your point, all the nurses, doctors, medical staff, maintenance, right? All the people who are needed to ensure that the hospitals were open, up and running. How many of them have children, and where were the children supposed to go during that time? They go to the daycare. When there's holidays, where do a lot of the children go? They go to the daycare or in the early childhood centers. And a lot of times, to your point, people aren't thinking about them. Like, I know when I've had the opportunity to work with early childhood centers, a lot of the time I'm going, okay, when does your staff get a day off? And they start laughing. Right.
Yes, you brought up another important, vital point, that early childhood educators or the whole field is not on the same level as primary school, right? Because you get the holidays, you get spring break, but that doesn't stop everybody, as far as mom, dad, auntie, uncles, grandparents, whoever that adult is in that child's life, from having to go to work. So it's a year-round business, you know, that you're open. I mean, honestly, there's maybe Thanksgiving was shut down, Christmas, you know, things like that. Otherwise, next
They're
day,
up and running.
We're up and running.
Yep.
You know, regardless of having your own family, or, you know, trying to make way for your own self. You know, you're just trying to make sure that the children and families that we serve are cared for. So have you heard any news or, you know, about this early childhood education field, and that the sacrifice that so many, you know, put in making sure that we're providing high quality services?
Yes.
And like you mentioned, we do the professional development training. It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job.
Yes, it is. And you know what? As you're talking about it, I'm having flashbacks of when I would go to open up the facility, right? And so I had to be there 6:30, maybe 7 o'clock in the morning, depending on what time the early drop off was. And then there were times where, you know, after school was until 6 o'clock, but a parent might not show up until 7 o'clock. And you have to stay there. And now all of a sudden you've been there 12 hours and you've been working the whole time, right? You're not sitting down at any point. And I've been a middle school teacher, I've been an elementary school teacher. There was no point in me sitting on a desk. You know, it was non-stop. You have your classrooms, you have your interactions, and then you have your environmental pieces, such as the crying, the screaming, and I remember that last time I changed that diaper and I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, I need time away. But there was nowhere to go.
And so you bring up another point that I don't think a lot of people realize, that when you work in their early childhood education field, the pay is totally different. It's so low. It's not like it is in primary or higher ed. And most of the teachers who are the most essential workers in that field do not have medical insurance.
Yes, I did not. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, some do. Some are working. I'm working with the University of Boston to create a sustainable, you know, retirement and benefit package for early childhood educators. So,
wait a minute. Thank you.
It's needed.
It is so needed.
It is so neat. I'm blessed because I was married. My husband had good benefits, so I didn't have to worry about that. But, you know, a lot of people aren't in that situation. So here you are caring for our most sacred little ones who are our future.
Yeah.
And we know how often they get sick and make us sick when you have your own.
Baby.
And now you're putting yourself in a work environment where you are prone to get, you know, exposed to even more germs.
Yes.
And, you know, it just happens. You know, some of us are blessed and never get a sneeze, a sniffle, whatever. But you know that time is coming where you're like, here it go.
Here it comes.
You know,
here it
I can't breathe. I can't talk. I can't swallow. I'm feeling faint.
Yes.
And could you imagine not be able to just get your own basic needs provided for? I don't think people realize how it's such a high percentage. We're talking about 60% of some of the early childhood educators who are on public assistance.
That's one of them drop the mic moments.
Yes.
And people
and granted, get me there's different levels, you know, that you start on, but you know, because now they're demanding you have more education.
Yes.
But you know, in order to get that, you have to be able to even make sure you're providing your basic needs before you strive to do that. Yes, there's some scholarships and, you know, grant supports, but not everybody don't meet that need to even be able to pivot themselves up the ladder, as we call it. I'm showing my age, you know, because you know they change everything.
Yes, they do.
But I mean, that's really, it's just mind blowing to me. You know, I was able to pivot myself forward to leadership positions where I can make an equitable, you know, wage, right? But what about so many that can't? It shouldn't be like that. We should all be able to provide just our basic needs, right?
Yeah.
Food, shelter, healthcare, belonging, all that.
Yeah. I mean, you're bringing up so many points that I think a lot of times people aren't thinking about. You see, you know, depending on where you live, you can see so many daycares, so many early childhood centers. And, you know, you see them, but if you're not accessing them, I don't know how many people think about what it takes for them to run continuously and to stay up to code. So and to receive potentially different types of funding and so forth. So there's STAR system, there are, as you talked about, different governmental pieces. I know I worked with someone who was thinking about opening up a daycare, and we were looking at do they do it within their home? Do they get a building? What about subsidies and all types of stuff? So what's going through your mind as you're hearing these different words? Because this is your specialty area.
I'm just agreeing with you, and I'm just thinking about what's needed to really provide this high quality care for our most precious assets, really. If we look at it, it's not an item. The children are the future, right? We keep saying that, but how are we really investing in that, you know?
Right.
So like you said, and for different childcare owners, providers, we call them, there is a quality system called STARS, and you have to be able to afford certain items to move up to that level. So yeah, it's difficult, you know. Could you imagine being a woman of color like we are, you know, but trying to provide not only for yourself, but for your staff and for the children and families in your care, you know. I don't even want to go into our local political administration and what they're doing to so many programs like Head Start, which provides, you know, low cost. Some others provide free childcare for families, right? Everybody's in like action plan. What are we going to do if those funds really get cut? A lot of stuff is being on hold. You still got to go to work. So where are the children going to go?
That's right.
You know, so that's how deep it is. And just to make it more relatable to our current situation, what is presently put before us right now, no pun intended, you know, it's just mind blowing of how we really need to think forward and how we're going to move this needle and get through this administration in a more uplifting and promising manner where the children aren't hurt, the
Yeah.
workforce and families aren't suffering.
Yeah, and I think to your point, and this is where you and Dr. Blake with your organization, with your company, Learn, Empower, Grow. And for those who are joining us, you can see the link to their organization in the chat room, where you are providing, like you said, the educational piece to the staff, and you're also providing the awareness to others so that they can start to look and really take these pieces into consideration. Now, there's something that your organization does do. You provide a certain level of certification
Mhm.
for staff members. Tell the people about that.
That's the Child Development Associate Certificate, which I spoke about moving across that ladder so you can be able to, make a livable wage.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to start at the basic, and that's the CDA certificate. Hopefully, you move on to associates and bachelors and masters, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe a doctorate,
Mm-hmm.
like that. But it's, if you're not making barely minimum wage and you
Mm-hmm.
have a family to take care of,
Mm-hmm.
and how are you going to afford? And
Yes.
if it's not money, it's time, it's mentality.
Yes.
So we got a grant to offer this certificate to the early childhood education workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do we do the coursework, but I know, amazingly enough, we did all this during COVID. You believe it? So we had to pivot, and we got a wonderful, wonderful therapist who does wellness and mental health, Kevin Blake, who actually was a student of yours. It's such a
Mm-hmm.
small world.
Kevin,
This is what I
yes.
mean about this continuum,
Yes. Yes.
who has been with us since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So he provided wellness sessions during COVID because our classes were taught via Zoom because it
Mm-hmm.
was COVID. We were masked up and ready to go. And then we have the wonderful Regina Robinson, who you may have been out of school for some time where you need a refresher when it comes to your writing skills, because
Yes.
there's competencies that they have to write and to show that they understand what it takes to provide high quality, care for our
Mm-hmm.
young ones.
Mm-hmm.
They have to do a portfolio that's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to deny that.
Mm-hmm.
And she supported them with that,
Wow.
in a more holistic, equitable way,
Mm-hmm.
because you're adult, you're working full time, you're taking care of children, maybe your parents. We all been in that situation, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that was something that was definitely needed.
Mm-hmm.
We provided them even with a coach that was support and make sure they're keeping up on their assignments.
Wonderful.
And then sometimes, as an adult, maybe you didn't get our own, like I said, mama's education. You
Yes.
didn't get diagnosed or get the supports
That's
that you
right.
need.
That's
So
right.
we work with Dr. Richard Cooper, who and I think your
Mm-hmm.
mother actually worked
Yep.
with.
Yep.
That continuum,
Yes. Yes.
who does learning different support for adults. So
Mm-hmm.
you may just have test anxieties, or maybe you have a racing mind, and he helps you calm that down,
That's
or
right.
he teaches you how to do comprehension skills or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. He even trains the staff at Learn Power Grow,
Yes. Yes.
and he's amazing. The skills and techniques that he have. He's
Mm-hmm.
internationally known. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the supports that we put. That was like more holistic approach to make sure that we want them to succeed. We just don't want you to take this course. Once they take the course, they get 9 credits, for college, university, continue their degree. So
Yeah.
that's really important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just continue. Even our students in our first cohort, we still see and talk to and communicate with. So we are definitely with them through their whole journey for them to succeed. And we understand that the obstacles are there, but regardless of the obstacles, you're going to climb over them and you're going to make it and
Mm-hmm.
go further.
With the support that's needed. I mean, and the fact that you have been through it, you know what that side of the life is like, and you're able to see where the gaps are and where
Mm,
the assistance is needed. And and as you're talking about the financial piece, so when I worked there, I had my undergraduate degree, early childhood and elementary education, and I ended up working at a Montessori school. It was affluent, 6 weeks to I think the oldest students might have been 5, right? Because then afterwards they would go to kindergarten. And I think I might have been making, I don't know, $7.50 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was not given health insurance, and I was working full time. And the thing was, where I helped make ends meet was I was also a babysitter. And a lot of the students, their families would pick who they wanted from the staff to be their babysitters, and everybody knew, like, you belong to so and so and you belong. But to your point, why, and these were the children that I worked with, their parents were very affluent. We'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Where they had those jobs that sometimes you can't even spell and pronounce. But this was the reality of the staff, and I was one of the more educated staff at the time. But check to check, it was, we were one and the same, and like I said, the long hours, 12-hour days, many times if people didn't show up, having to stay in ratio, being exhausted, couldn't afford to get sick. So it was all of those things. And again, like I said, I don't think people think about these things until they're in it or need to be in it. And so you saw this, you lived through it, you worked through it, and now you're on this side where you have your own business, Learn, Empower, Grow. And again, for those who are interested, or someone who's has a daycare, an early childhood center, or is thinking about having one, you definitely want to contact these individuals, Dionne Chambers, Dr. Stephanie Blake, and her team, to find out what is needed and what needs to be taken into consideration and what trainings are needed, so that you are staying up to code and that your staff is, as you're saying, servicing the future, really pouring into them. What else do you want people to know about early childhood education centers? And then we're going to pivot to something else that you do in the community, which is near and dear to a lot of our hearts.
I just want them to really recognize that we are essential workers, especially the teachers that are in the classroom. And then just to recognize the importance of early childhood education and understand that we are preparing the children for the real world, real world experiences. We're helping them regulate their social emotional skills. We really want them to be involved in their young child's growth and development. That's the most important thing. We know that they're busy, but we have to do this work together. At the same time, I want them to see more supports for the teachers in the workforce, period. We definitely need more funding and support when it comes to early childhood education. So often you hear K through 12, right? In the language, but you forget preschool.
Pre-K.
I guess, how old are children in K? They're 5, 6, right?
Yep.
I guess life only begins when you turn 5 years old, right? We all know it takes no degrees, no rocket science, right, to figure out that, we can even go as far as say life begins in the mother's womb, right?
Yes.
So we all know that there's that prenatal care that's needed, and a lot of early childcare places focus on that prenatal care because if that mother isn't healthy or eating right or getting her own social emotional needs, that child, that baby, that infant, however you want to say, inside that womb is going to come out with trauma.
Yes.
And we wonder, you just look at some kids and just like, ooh, that kind of thing. So just really want to make a platform up there, to give more support to early childhood education space, period. Not just the sector, but the whole space, and, the notion of it.
As people are listening to you, I think they're realizing these teachers might be not only the teachers, but the administrators, the leaders, the owners, that might be stressed out.
Might is an understatement. Yeah. That's definitely an understatement. But I mean, we're working on that too. So
Well, that's what I was going to have you share with the people.
yes,
What are
yes.
you doing? Because you recognize that there's a need, because part of the systemic nature of ECE is not changing at the moment, right? The days are what the days are. There's a certain number of days that they take off a year. The staff, there, some things right now,
Okay, count
it's
them on
just the
both
way it is.
hands.
Right, right. So now we got to look at what's an alternative. All right, if the system of it is not changing, then what needs to be added so that they are healthy and rejuvenated and, as you mentioned, holistically attended to? And your organization has recognized this need,
Mhm.
and you created what?
We are creating wellness retreats, conferences, break
Mhm,
mind rest days.
mhm,
You've heard of, wellness for teachers, but nobody really say that early childhood education part. So our
mhm,
first one is going to be this Saturday, February 1st. Um, it's just a place where we're focusing on the teachers, the workforce, the whole continuum. Just have a place to come and breathe, have
mhm,
to yourself, and relax and really have this space for yourself. So we're watching a documentary called A Letter to My Sisters. I think you
mhm,
already know who's
mhm.
going to be in there. I think somebody's going to be leading a panel discussion. Her
You
name is,
think
I don't know,
so?
Dr. Walls, and we have a beautiful connection at CHOP that's going to come out, and she's going to do some wellness and meditation and some yoga for us. Dr. Nina is the one who's going to do the documentary. She did it. She works with a lot of women with breast cancer. A
Mhm,
lot of the teachers are experiencing that, but still having to work with no insurance.
mhm, mhm.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So we're just really trying to create a space for us to. I'm trying to put my hand, and relax nicely,
Mhm.
Oh, look, you put it up. How sweet. Yes.
Mhm.
On there. And we just encourage anybody that works with us in that space and understands and just need to take that moment to come with us and step back and relax. This is the first of many more to come.
Mhm.
Our ultimate goal is to do it monthly, but we're going to start doing it quarterly
Mhm.
and see how it works out. But this is something that we heard the workforce ask for.
Mhm.
And then it's like, why not us? Right?
Right.
We have to step up. And honestly, it's a refresher for us too. We
Mhm.
collaborate with some wonderful individuals who are supporting us. So we say, come, bring your sweats, your tights, your t-shirts, and just sit back, relax, and have a moment for yourself. Because
Mhm.
the whole wellness, it is something that's kind of been in the wave, but it's kind of talk,
Mhm.
and we know actions, if you just talk and have no actions, it's kind of just redundant.
That's
So
right.
let's just put this to work and really have that space and that content that we needed
Yeah.
to rejuvenate our mind, body, spirit, and soul. Because
Yeah.
if you keep giving to a vessel that's already full, it's just going to
Mhm.
spill over, you know.
Mhm.
So we want to make sure that you have some time to intake what you need for your own vessel nourishment, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you can go back out and fight the good fight, right? Because
Yes.
like you said, nothing's changing.
Right.
Nothing's changing. But
Right.
what needs to change is where your mind space is, right?
Mm. That's
So this is our goal. And I'm saying this to myself as affirmation,
mhm. Mhm.
for us all that are doing this amazing work.
Mhm.
We just really, we say our health is our wealth all the time, but how much do we really put theory to practice?
Yeah.
And this is that time and space to do it. So I'm so excited and ecstatic, about us doing this and pivoting into this new window. And I'm looking forward,
Now
to
we
where we go with it.
Yeah, so we may have some people that are saying, "Well, I'm not an early childhood educator, but this sounds good to me. Can I come?"
Yeah, yes, you can, because we're going to wind up making you support us.
Come
How
on.
about that? In some type of way. I'm sure we all have young ones in our life. If you don't
Mhm.
have you might even have a sister or, you know, a family member that is, you know, early childhood educator. But I think it's an opportunity to educate,
Yeah.
you know, those who are not. I mean, I can't think of nobody, if it's not in their personal, professional, or just in their community, that don't have a young one, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then I think it's going to put a new light on, you know, what is really happening and what
Mm-hmm.
we need to really do to prepare ourselves and nourish ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
not just talk about with food, but we got to nourish ourselves mentally too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I'm so glad. There's several things that I really like about this event. Number one is that you are recognizing the wellness needs of the ECE community, right? You're thinking about them beyond their quote unquote professional development. You and Dr. Blake and your team are thinking about them as people and what they need in order to flourish as people. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I like about it is that you are taking their outside of work life into consideration, meaning the health needs, because, right, they are people, period.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's health concerns that some people are dealing with, their be it themselves or their loved one, family members, friends. And breast cancer is one of those things that seems to touch everyone's
Mm-hmm.
life, right? Somebody knows somebody. And with Dr. Nia Bailey, and she's been a friend to the show. If you haven't seen her on my Sisters for Harmony vodcast or my Planners Knowledge vodcast, you can check out the playlist on Ask Dr. Walls 525. While you're there, click that subscribe button, please. And you can hear her talk about her passion around that work. And so when you two had a chance to talk and then pull this together, I think it's a great example of community and collaboration and bringing these resources together, because when you are in these life moments and you're stressed out from work, from health, so forth, many times you don't know where to go and you don't know who you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as Taylor Made All Day said, Dionne and Stephanie are awesome. Their mentorship has been priceless for the families and staff of Steele School. And you and Dr. Blake have made yourselves known within the ECE community, as well as other communities within the community, that to be notable resources and to be trustworthy resources. And that's definitely commendable. And I want to take a moment and honor you two for that in the work that you do.
Ashe, ashe,
Oh,
ashe.
all right. Look, and I already can hear Leslie talking about shake that tambourine. Here, Les, I got it. I got it. So, and I also want to highlight the work that you do with grandparents, because that's how I met you. I met you with the
Right,
grandparent work.
right.
So tell the community about the grandparent work that you do.
So I am the grand family educator for an organization called Connectedly, famously known as Stone Before. Actually, this year we're celebrating almost 30 years, you know, in the business. I haven't been with them for long. I've been with them for about 5 years. But I support grandparents who are raising their grandchildren, which, believe it or not, is a high number, especially
Come
in
on.
Philadelphia,
Hmm.
just because of life circumstances. But I don't have to say how the opioid epidemic has affected the city.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, gun violence and mental health, whereas though we have to broaden our arms to, you know, this village that are
Yeah.
raising in young children.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, being a senior and raising young children can have its barriers, right?
Hmm.
So you have me to lean on to navigate you, you know, through that. Any educational needs of your grandchild that there need be.
Hmm.
This is personal to me because my grandparents were a big, you know, part in taking me under their umbrella, changing the trajectory of their life and raising me. I would
Hmm.
not be the person the woman that I am today had I not done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell everybody it's really a funny situation because they were divorced. My grandparents were divorced.
I didn't
You
know
know,
that part of the story.
yes.
Oh,
But they came together to, make sure I came out half decent, right?
no, come on. Come
That
on.
kind of thing. So, yes, that's something that's near and dear. And you know what we say, when you can do your passion for your
Yes.
work, that you're on this right continuum,
Come
right?
on.
So,
Yeah.
I'm deeply passionate about doing that. I understand and I respect, what grandparents are doing to raise, grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And I will do anything I can to support them. That's just innate in my nature.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
be able to do that for my work,
Yeah.
hopefully will just make it manifest more.
Yeah. When you told me that, I was so amazed that that was a thing. And
Right.
it made sense that that would be a thing, right? It's definitely something that's needed. I know in all the years that I have worked in schools, all the way back to 1992, 93, when I was a middle school teacher, and the grandparents who were raising their grandchildren at that point in time, who were some of my students for various reasons. And it is a population that is so needed. I know I loved my grandparents, and
Mhm.
would just have hissy fits when I had to be away from my grandma. Leslie put, oh, wow, that's an awesome blessing. Grandparents. Yeah, definitely. So much so, Dan, I don't know if I ever told you the story. When I was like five, somewhere between 5 and 7 years old, I
Mhm.
came home to my parents and I said, there's been 3 times that I said I know what I wanted to be when I grow up. And so somewhere between 5 and 7, I said I know what I want to be. And they were like, what? And I said, a grandparent. I want to be a grandmother.
Ah.
And so my parents were like, well, why do you want to be a grandparent? And I said, because they love you and they had, and grandmothers specifically,
Mhm.
I said, and they have the best candy in their purses.
True.
They always
Those
have a
mint, or the mint
peppermint.
or the butterscotch.
They got peppermint gum and butterscotch
Butterscotch, yes.
every time. And I was like, that's what I want to be. And my mother was like, but you have to be a mother first. I said, I don't want to be one of them. And she said, well, why not? I said, because your children never go away. But as a grandparent, you can love them, spoil them, and drop them off.
Except when you gotta raise them, right?
Exactly. I didn't know that part at the time.
It's a big break. I mean, especially in Philadelphia, there's like 45% of households are grandparent ran household taking care of their grandchildren because of the reasons that I mentioned before, or
Mhm.
just because life be life, and sometimes, and that parent of that child is not in that mind space, so therefore that grandparent steps up and takes that responsibility,
That's
right?
right. That's
The
right.
village widens, right?
Yes, yes. Toy, I like that church candy. You absolutely right. Now, of course, all I can think about is somebody need to market that in the store, y'all. We got need to come together and make a church candy bag. People will know
Oh, that's
exactly
such a
what's inside.
treat. Tola
Isn't
is
that
all the
cute?
way in Africa.
Oh, hey, look at
Tola's a
that.
big part of our team too.
Oh, this
Tola
is
is
the
a
one who I hear
previously,
about all the
yeah, she's
time.
a previous childcare owner, and she retired during COVID, and she's been a big support. I can't even give her a title. She just does everything.
Yes.
Whatever, Learn the Power Girl. She's so missed. Everybody keep wanting her to
Oh,
come back. They
they
think she
asked
ran
about.
away because of the administration. She's coming back.
Yes, yes. Oh, she said, I'm a grandparent of 7, took care of my mom and my children help. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Yes, yes. So, well, I hear about you all the time from various people, and they are always singing your praises. So, yes. All right. So, you work with the grandparents, you work with the early childhood centers, and then you also do some energy work. What's up with that?
It's all in the continuum. It's
Do
all in the
tell.
continuum.
Tell the
So
people.
energy work is through ECA, Energy Coordinating Agency. We work with their director of community programs, Lorraine Horton. She's amazing.
Mhm.
So she provide workshops for the community to learn how they can use more energy efficient, things in their home, whether it's cooling or heating or weatherization of windows. And she educates them, make sure they have the supplies and resources. And she was like, everybody keep coming with their kids. They keep coming with their kids. We can't concentrate. Can't you do something with them? Mm-hmm. And so it just started with trying to do little activities. And then she was like, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. Let's create a program. And I'm like, okay, let's do energy literacy, because we want to pivot young children to be educated about energy, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're reminding parents or, the guardian what needs to happen. But then we also want to prepare them for the jobs of the future.
Yeah.
And those are the energy jobs, right? Yeah. So you can schedule a workshop with us. We come and do 1 hour workshops for free. We base it on, literacy books. Right now we're doing The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. They're making mini solar, panels, windmills. They're also working on solar cars, anything that has to do with energy right now. That's what we're focusing right now. That's our book that we're focusing on now. Mm-hmm. But anybody in the community can find about us on our website and book us to come to any event where you're having young children at. And then we'll do a whole hour workshop and have some fun and games and activities, educating them more. And then it's a break from your kids because the adults are in the other room and me and Dr. Blake can handle the kids and whoever else is there on our team, that kind of thing. And we're excited about that extension because it goes with our whole STEAM based, education theme that we always want to be pivoting forward. And we just need to prepare our young ones for the future. So it's a fun, way to do that.
Yeah. Whole lot of fun. And for people who are interested in finding out more about the Energy Coordinating Agency, the link is in the chat. I do want to put this up so you can see this. She said she's starting a group of grandparents called Grandmas for Literacy, where we help advocate for the children in our community. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. That is wonderful. So now, Dionne, before we get ready to go, so people have learned about the work that you do with the early childhood centers. You've learned about what you do around energy. You're starting this series with wellness for people within the early childhood space as well. What else do people need to know about what you're doing?
How much time do we have now?
Look. And let me put this up as you're getting ready to pull your answer. Taylor Made All Day said you rarely meet genuine people in this world. You are so right. Trust and transparency are the determining factors for success. I work with several organizations. LEGCG is number one on my list. Learn, Empower, Grow Consulting Group. So for people like, what is that? That is Learn, Empower, Grow Consulting Group. Excellent. Wonderful.
Thank you. I spoke before just about doing your passion for your work. Mm-hmm. So I guess that the other thing is the work that I do in my neighborhood that I live, with the organization called GREAT, Germantown Residents for Economic Alternatives Togetherness. Mm-hmm. We basically believe in people power, instead of sitting there, here we go, griping about, we know this is how the state of our political situation is right now. We believe in that living economy where we're doing caring and scarceness, cooperation. We're doing this ethical and social well-being. It's mainly just this deep democracy, right? So during COVID, there was the mutual aid fund where we paid people rent and mortgage. And that was just all of just people power, fundraising the organization. We also do clothes drives because we believe in the equitable staining clothing source. I don't think people realize how many clothes are put in piles and piles and piles in other countries. So everything is free, but it looks like you're shopping in a mall, but it's all by the community. We do fire safety. We make sure you have an action plan for that. We do food banks, seed swaps. We're ready for an apocalypse if it's coming. That's basically what we're doing. But we have an amazing group of people
Mhm.
that are just working with the talents that they have. We have a tool share tray, so if you don't have a tool to
Wow.
fix your home, you can come and borrow it. And not only can
Mhm.
you borrow the tool, but you can borrow somebody to know how to use the tool.
Come on.
So it's all about the barter system,
Yes.
and lifting us up from this strength-based approach.
Yes.
So I'm really proud about, being on that steering committee.
Mhm.
My focus before was, of course, education and housing, because
Mhm.
that's so important. But, now that I'm on the steering committee, we're looking at the whole, continuum of it. So
Mhm. Anything else you'd like to add? I told y'all it was their first part and then some, right?
yes,
Because
yes.
there's no way I could have put all of the and then some on the flyer and in the announcement. I would have been talking for a long, long time. This is a powerhouse community person, right? And we have people in the community like this, and I wanted to take this moment today to really celebrate her and uplift her and share her with you all so that you can recognize her as a resource and her work as a resource. So if you are an early childhood center, if you're an educator, if you're a director, if you're an owner, and you need some professional development, you need some consulting, you need some coaching, Learn, Empower, Grow is definitely one of those organizations that you want to make sure you contact to get that direction. Now, I put the website in the chat room. Are there any social media handles, any web in addition to the website that you want people to utilize so that they can get in contact with you? What's all that information?
There's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's all the titles. We're under Lake, Learn, Empower, Grow hashtag, before the after, whatever the venue is that we're going through.
Mhm.
I think we got rid of X for, I'm not even going to explain why, on the equitable
Mhm.
lens. Um,
Y'all hear it?
so
She's about that equity.
yeah,
Come on.
you gotta have that. You can't be about that. But yes, and then there's direct links to all our social media links on our website at
Mhm.
Learn, Empower, Grow consultantgroup.com.
Okay.
I think the last day is the project we're working with Brilliant Cities,
Yes.
which it started with Brilliant Cities Detroit, and the concept is to buy a house in the community.
Mhm.
And their focus is early childhood education with the young ones, and
Mhm.
make a learning hub for the needs with the community.
Mhm.
So we're working with Cindy, and we're working with Aaron, the
Mhm.
beautiful leaders in the Brilliant City community, at Philadelphia Hub right here at Germantown.
Mhm.
And we're meeting with community members, we're
Mhm.
meeting with our neighbors, we're meeting with possible partners,
Yes.
anybody who are interested in what your community needs to be a beloved community, basically,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And to have this safe space,
Yes.
not as babysitting, but where we can gather and get information and knowledge and care from. So I'm
Yes.
really excited about that project, and this Brilliant Cities is coming to a neighborhood near you,
That's right.
as well. But we're so excited about that collaboration. Every neighborhood needs a safe space and a
Yes.
safe haven. We know the history in Philadelphia, needless to say, and we
Mhm.
need more safe spaces for young children and
Yes.
their families in the community. The
Mhm.
beautiful thing about this hub is that it's ran by the community,
Mhm.
and then the community is paid and valued for their talents and their expertise. So I definitely say look them up. If you have any questions, you can definitely look them up at brilliantcities.com. But then you can also contact us at Learn, Empower, Grow, and we will definitely connect you to Aaron's amazing team,
Yes.
so they can meet with them.
And let me just clarify one thing because we have a global audience here and people who are opening early childhood centers and or already own and have them up open and operating. The certification that you have, the professional developments that you do, is it Pennsylvania specific or are you able to train nationally and internationally?
So currently now we're doing, so it depends on what it is, because some education entities you need a certain license to be under when you're getting your training. So
Okay.
you have certain hours of training that you have to get, period. So we are mainly in the, I want to say, the Pennsylvania area right now.
Yes.
If internationally, yes, that's just a issue of just paperwork for us to fill out to
Yes.
make sure that we're meeting your needs, where you need to be. Because
Mhm.
you're internationally known too, so
Mhm.
so.
And as far as continuing education credits, are those things that your organization is also able to
Yes,
provide?
yes. For the CDA course, Child Development Associate course, yes.
Okay.
You get 9 college credits to transfer there.
All right, y'all heard it right there. Well, it is time for us to get ready to roll out. We thank you so much for joining us, and we know we have had people from all over. Again, I ask you, please be sure to take a moment and hit that subscribe button at Ask Dr. Walls 525. Always bringing people from our global community to you so that you can be inspired, informed, and empowered. Let me see. Taylor Made said, Toya, this is the group that I'm connecting you with, the grandparent support group. I told you they are simply the best, better than all the rest, in my Tina Turner voice. There we go. Yes, thank you, Leslie. Leslie said, and besides that subscribe button, please make sure you hit the like button also. Thank you very much. All right. Any last words that you want to say, inspiring people? Anything that you want to say, Dionne, before we close out?
I just want to say, live your best life.
Mm-hmm.
Take a time to breathe and hear
Mm-hmm.
yourself breathe. But if you're in the education or community space, then please reach out to us. We were more helpful to have you on and support you, or just have you come and support us with others.
Yes, fantastic. And tell me this also, the flyer and the event that is happening this Saturday, February 1st from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. will be, where will it be happening and what is so special about that location?
Oh, it would be a Hope Partnership for Education because that's our home office site. Also in partnership with Hope Partnership for Education, which is a private but all paid scholarship school for Black and Brown children in the North Philly area. So that's
Mhm.
really important. It's kind of like a secret. Every time we say there, they're
It
like, "What?"
is.
I'm like, "We're open to everybody."
Mm-hmm.
And we follow the students from middle school to high school and to trade school or college, whatever they prefer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a all girls school and partner schools as well. So that's what makes the place so special. Our place there is to support with the adult ed and community engagement events.
Mm-hmm. And so, if people want to sign up for the event on Saturday, I am going to drop that link in the chat room right now. Is there a link on the website for that? Or
There is a link. There's a social media post on there's everything. All the handles are
okay.
there for them to do so.
All right. So please be sure to sign up. Come to the event. It is free, correct?
Yes, it is
Come
free.
on, y'all. It is free. You're going to get a documentary. You're going to get some wellness activities. You are going to get a rich discussion. It is going to be a very informative and healing day. We encourage you to come out and meet us, join us, and be a part of community with us. It is as Dion opened up this evening, it takes a village. And so now we are taking time to heal that village and build and strengthen and fortify that village. And with that said, I thank you all for joining us. As always, please be sure, guess what? Yes, I was on last night. Yes, I'm on tonight. Don't call it a comeback. I'll be on tomorrow night. My husband and I will be doing our episode of Stronger together at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is National Human Trafficking Awareness
Mm-hmm.
Month. And we could not let the month go by without discussing that. We do a web series called Kadaga, which is about eliminating human trafficking in all of its forms. We are currently in production of season 4. So we've been doing this for a minute, y'all.
Mhm.
So be sure you can check that out at UCCN TV on YouTube. Again, that's UCCN TV. Thank you, TaylorMade. I appreciate it. And, come check us out tomorrow night. Like I said, 7 p.m. You get to see me and the mister, and we'll be talking about Stronger Together. And again, the fact of the matter is, I can do a little bit by myself, but we can do more together. I forget who used to talk about, I might be able to poke you with a finger, but I can do more damage with a fist, right? So when we come together and join that bond, we can do so much more. So as Dionne said, continue to live your best. My motto is continue to live your greatest life. And as always, until we meet again, God bless. All right, y'all. Have a great night. Thank you,
Bye.
Dionne.
Ashe.
All right. All right. I like the Ashe shake. I'm going to have to add that to my life. Good boy.